Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping by again. And if this is your first time on the channel, you're definitely welcome. Do what to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you get to see more of my content. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this really stylish dress. And without further ado, let's get started. And right here for this tutorial, this is the African print material that we're going to use, and I used about 4 yards of this material, right? And to get started, I'm going to be drafting on the pattern paper. And right here on the pattern paper, I'll go ahead and indicate the start line. And having done that, I'll go ahead and also indicate the bust point of 10 inches, the under bust of 14 inches, and also the half length of 16 inches. And having done that, the next line to indicate is the hip line. So I'll come down from the waistline by 9 inches and indicate with a straight line like so. And the next line to indicate is the gown length. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using 40 inches, but here on the pattern paper, I have around 35. So I'll be adding to it when I'm cutting it on the fabrics. And so right here is our shoulder line. This is our bust point. Here is our under bust. And the next line right here is our waistline. And right here, this is the hip line. And up next, I'll just come upward from the bust point by 1.5 inches. And that is going to be my chest line. And having done that, the next thing to do is to come to the shoulder line here, and we are going to impute our shoulder divided by 2. Mine is 7, so I'll just indicate here. And right here on the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, all right? And having done that, I'll create the neckline. And for the neckline, I'm going to be doing the width of 3 inches and also the depth of 3 inches. And right now, just go ahead and square this point up like so. And having done that, I'll just go ahead and create a round neckline. And having done that, I'll just go ahead and connect the neckline to this point here in order to create our shoulder slant. And next, we're going to connect from the shoulder to the chest line on a straight line like so. And having done that, I'll just go ahead and square it up properly like so, all right? And having done that, the next thing to do is to come to this straight line, and we're going to find the midpoint. And here I just indicated the midpoint. So right now, I'll go ahead and place my tape rule on the chest line here, and I'm going to divide my bust by 4, and whatever value I have, I'm going to indicate. I have 10 inches, so I just indicated. And the next thing to do is just to create our armhole. And because this is the front pattern, I'm going to come to the midpoint here, and I'm going to come inward by ½ an inch, all right? And the next thing to do is just to connect the point together like so. And right now, the next thing to do is just to go ahead and indicate the nipple to nipple measurement, starting from the bust point. My nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to indicate 4 all the way from the bust point till the end of the pattern paper. And I'll just go ahead and connect the point on a straight line. And right now, the next thing to do is to add darts to this dress. So I'm going to come to the waistline and take ½ an inch on both sides like so. All right. And having done that, I'm going to connect it to the bust point. Having done that, I'll come to the hip line here and come upward by 2 inches. Then I will extend the dart leg to that point like so. And right now, having done that, the next thing to do is to go ahead and tighten the under bust to make our dress very, very shapy, okay? So what I'm going to do is to come to the under bust line here, and right here, I'm going to come outward by 1 inch, and on this side, I'm going to come outward by ½ an inch. And having done that, the next thing to do is just to go ahead and connect from the under bust to the bust point using the curvy part of our ruler, all right? And we're also going to repeat the same process to the other side like so. And the next thing to do is to connect the dart leg to this point above the hip line. And right now, having done that, the next thing to do is to get our neck dart, because this dress has a neckline dart, all right? So we are going to just go ahead and connect from the bust point towards any part of the neckline, all right? It doesn't really have a standard, so I'm just going to connect to the neckline like so. And right now, the next thing to do is to go ahead and get the body measurement. I'm going to place my tape measure on the chest line here. I'm going to divide my bust by 4 and also add 2 inches sewing allowance to that. Then I'll come to the waistline. I'll divide my waist by 4 and whatever value I have, I'm going to indicate right here. Okay. And next thing to do is to return the dart intake that we have right here. All right. And I'm also going to indicate that here. Then I'm going to add 2 inches sewing allowance to the waistline also. And having done that, I'll just go ahead and connect the point together like so. And up next, I'll just come to the hip and also get the body measurement, though we do not need this down part. All right, all we need is this part, which is A, and also this part, which I label B. However, for clarity, I'll just go ahead and draft the whole thing. All right, so I'll come to the hip line here and get hip divided by 4 and I'll indicate here, then add 2 inches sewing allowance to that. Then I'm going to be connecting it to the waistline. Okay. And right from the hip line, I'll just mark a straight line all the way to the down part of the dress. And having done that, the next thing to do is to come to the waistline and we're going to come downward by about 1 inch. All right, some part of this dress is going to have gathers. All right, we're going to be attaching gathers to it, and because we don't want our gathers to start directly on our waist, we're going to come down by 1 inch, and I'll just indicate that here, and I'll mark a straight line across to indicate the new waistline. And having done that, I'll just go ahead and shade this other part here. Like I said earlier, we're not going to use it. All right, so I'll shade it off. And before I cut out this pattern, I'll just go ahead and add 1/2 inch joining allowance to the shoulder line. And I'll just go ahead and cut out the pattern. And right here, guys, after cutting out the unwanted part, here we have our front pattern. Okay. And right now, the next thing to do is to go ahead and draft the back pattern. And right here, we have this fresh pattern paper that we're going to use for the back piece. All right. And here I've already gone ahead to draft the start line, which is also the shoulder line. All right. And the next thing to do is to indicate the chest line. And I'm going to be using 8.5 inches, just like I did for the front. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and mark a straight line across that point. And I'll also go ahead and come down to 16 inches, which is our waistline. And I'll indicate with a straight line like so. And I also go ahead and come down by 1 inch, just like we did for the front, because we are going to be adding a gather split to the dress. Okay, so I will extend the waistline by 1 inch. And having done that, here we have our waist, our chest line, and also the shoulder line. And right now we are going to come to the chest line and we're going to indicate our shoulder divided by 2. Then we are going to come down by 1 inch. Okay, and next we are going to create the neckline with a width of 3 inches and a depth of 1 inch. All right, and we are going to create a round neckline for the back also. And right here we have our neckline. In case you're thinking why I didn't had zipper allowance, and that is because the zip is going to be at the front and we are going to be adding the allowance when we're cutting our fabrics. And right now the next thing I'll do is just to come here and connect the neckline to the point here, and from this part we're going to connect it to the chest line on a straight line like so. And up next, I'll just go ahead and find the midpoint here and I'll indicate it. Then I'm going to come to the chest line and divide my bust by 4. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect the point together to create our armhole. All right. And having done that, the next thing to do is just to go ahead and get our nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. And I'll just indicate that here. Then I'll indicate that on the waist and connect it together on a straight line like so. And here on the chest line, I'll come down by half an inch. Then on the waistline, I'm going to take half an inch on both sides like so, then create our dart. And next, I'll just go ahead and connect from here to anywhere around the neckline. And now we are going to go ahead and get the body measurements. Here we are going to get bust divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance, and on the waist divided by 4 plus the dart intake and also 2 inches sewing allowance. And I'm just going to go ahead and connect the point together. And right here we have our back bodies. All right, we have A and B. And having done that, you can just go ahead and cut out the pattern, but don't forget to add joining allowance to the shoulder. And here I'll just go ahead and quickly add half an inch joining allowance to the shoulder, and I'll go ahead and cut out the pattern. And so right here we have our back pattern, and before I detach the part label A and B, I want to go ahead and create the back slant. All right, because a human back is not straight. Okay, so I'll just come to the waistline here, and I'm just going to come inward by half an inch, and I'll just blend it towards the center upward like this. Okay, and now I'll just proceed to cutting out the rest of the pattern. And right here we have our back pattern. This is the center back and this is the side back. And right now let's draft our sleeve, and to do this I'm going to go ahead and first of all draft a basic sleeve. And right here I have the start line indicated already, and the next thing to do is to go ahead and come down from the start line by about 4.5 inches, and I'm just going to go ahead and indicate with a straight line. All right, and for the length I'll just go ahead and use 7 inches. Right now I'll come to this part, which is the cap height, and I'm going to indicate my armhole divided by 2, which is 8 inches in this case. All right, and the next thing I'll do is just to create an inverted S from the top of the pattern to touch on this new point that I just indicated. Okay, and up next I'll just connect from the cap height to the sleeve length on a straight line. And right here our basic sleeve is ready, so I'll just go ahead and cut out the pattern. And right here we have our basic sleeve, so the next thing to do is just to go ahead and modify it into a cap puff sleeve. All right, and to do this I'm going to first of all reduce the length of the sleeve, and right here since we have about 4.5 here, I'm just going to maintain this line here and cut it out. And right here this is what our new sleeve looks like. All right, and the next thing to do is just to create slash line on the sleeve. All right, I'm just going to create random slash lines on the sleeves. And having done that, the next thing to do is just to cut through the slash lines. So right here, this is our sleeve pattern, and we are going to be spreading this on our fabrics in order to get our puff sleeve. So this is where this video ends today. Watch out for the cutting and the sewing part. I'll be dropping that in my next tutorial. See you then.